iPhone 15 Pro, honest review after 1 month. Now, no, I didn't forget about this phone. I covered every iPhone but this in a full review. But, I had to do some comparisons. I didn't have time to really dive into this one. So I switched over and I've been using this phone for a while now. So this is going to be my honest review. Some of the key specs you're going to get here with this device is a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED ProMotion display, a 48 megapixel triple camera setup on here, and they do have themselves two 12 megapixels partnering with that 48. This is an 8 gigabyte of RAM phone, so that's up from 6 on the 14 Pro, a 17 Pro chipset, and a 3274 milliamp hour battery. Now with the titanium shell on this phone, you actually the only thing that I feel like gives this a lot of weight is the battery in this phone. It feels like the casing is really light, but the battery is what makes it get any type of heft. But that heft is way down from the iPhone 14 Pro. Okay, so the retail price on this one is around $999. And if you want to go up from there, 256 gigs, it goes to $1099, 512 to $1299, and all the way up to $1,500 for a 1 TB model. So this phone is no cheap device by no stretch of the imagination. And do I feel like it's worth the price point? Well, yeah, sort of. I mean, every year the Pro has been a top tier premium flagship phone. And if you're coming from a cheaper phone, this is always going to feel like a premium product. However, do keep in mind that if you've been buying like the 13 Pro or the 14 Pro, you're going to want to trade those off to get this cheaper, because I would say it's not worth the full retail if you have a trade-in offer. Like it just would be silly to go pay full retail and keep your old phone. It wouldn't make no sense, because you can get this for much cheaper in that case. Okay, so when it comes to the body, the weight, and the design of this phone, well, we're looking at a blue titanium on this model. You can see power button right there, 5G antenna. You'll see right here, we do have ourselves USB-C. That's the biggest change on all the iPhone 15s. Been loving that. Precisionally drilled speaker and microphone holes. Over here on the left side, we do have ourselves the action button and the volume rockers. Now, the action button is pretty nicely reached here on this one, and it is programmable. You could do a lot of things with that action button. I find myself using silent right here now instead of using it on action button anymore. And so if we go back, action button, right here, you have a lot of things you can do with it. So that's a neat feature. I also think on the 15 Pro, it's a little bit more enjoyable to use because it's more reachable. It's a little bit high up on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. But this phone, one of the things that really strikes me about this is just it's so much lighter than the other Pros that came out before. The 13 bumps are not massive on this phone. So overall, this is a sleek premium iPhone. Month later though, it kind of just feels like rinse, repeat, refine, polish, and launch a new iPhone. That's what it kind of feels like with the design, the weight, the body. I will say though that this new thinner bezels is definitely more enjoyable than some of the older thicker bezels. Now, it's something you don't really see unless I'm comparing side by side, but once you use the thinner bezels and you go back, you will start to see thicker bezels. Does this make a massive difference in your day-to-day life? No, not at all. But we are looking at a review here. We're trying to review and see what's different. And the bezels do make a difference. And the thing about this phone is that it's just a portable beast. That's what I really kind of like about it. And it's not as small as a mini, but it's a good compromise between not too big and not too small. So a really good experience on the iPhone 15 Pro. Okay, so when it comes to the display, we are looking at a 2000 nit brightness display, Super Retina XDR OLED, and it does have True Tone, which I have on right now. It just gets really bright outdoors, and just like the 15 Pro Max, it doesn't really dim too often, so you can take advantage of that brightness quite a bit. And the colors are, I would say, a little bit muted. They're not like overly vibrant. But a lot of people are going to like that because they don't want a vibrant, searing screen in their eyes. It also has a higher PWM rate, 480 hertz versus like 240 on the S23 line. So it's a little bit better for, visual comfort at nighttime. In addition, you'll see right here, reduce white point. It really helps it dim down. So this phone can get really dim in the display department, like really dim at nighttime. So that's been enjoyable. But it just doesn't hurt my eyes. The PWM doesn't bother me on here, on this phone particularly. And this is a Samsung source panel, but this one just seems better to me on my eye than like the S23 Plus, for example. True Tone Night Shift Dark Mode. But overall, you know, there's still this dynamic island that definitely interrupts the display experience. However, I do feel like on the iPhone 15 Pro here, it just, you know, this phone, I'm not multitasking. I'm not watching, you know, as much content as I would on my TV or my MacBook or my laptop. You know, I get a little bit more annoyed with bigger phones because, you know, if they have display interruptions, because I want to watch more content on them. But this one, Dynamic Island, doesn't really bother me too much. It's just overall a really high quality display. So you definitely get what you pay for here on the iPhone 15 Pro. There's no real major cons to this panel in my experience so far. And Apple's keeping always on display just for the pros once again. So you definitely can enjoy that. If you don't want to get the 15 or 15 Plus and you go with this, you'll get the always on display. So that's quite nice. Do keep that in mind. Now, when I'm shifting gears to software, I do want to mention that, you know, it just feels like it's like I'm going to a bigger size, a smaller size, same thing across the board. Every single iPhone feels exactly the same in the software department. Sans the camera changes just a little bit, like the ability to go to this 28 millimeter, 35 millimeter. You can't go 5x like the iPhone 15 Pro Max. You can go 3 times zoom.